Okay, welcome everybody. I hope you can all hear me okay and hopefully see my screen, see the main menu of EstimatorXpress there. So my name is Jim Pizzey. I'm the Technical Director at HPXL. And the reason I'm here to talk to you today is that I'm also the main developer of EstimatorXpress. And so it's down to me to show you what I've been working on recently and has been released in this latest update, the 9.10 update. Okay, so this is the I don't know whether I'd say the start of the road, but continuation of our journey to remove EstimatorXpress from Excel. We've been having well, you've probably been as our users have been having some issues, over the years with Excel, with the speed, with reliability, and so we are finally removing ourselves from it so that we can give you a better experience as you deserve. And this is the first or the main step that we've done is to remove the workbooks from operating within Excel, and I'm gonna show you it if you haven't downloaded the update already, and if you have, just talk you through some of the changes and one or two features that you may not have noticed yet. If at any point you have questions, please do type them into you should have a chat box in the controls there. Please do type them in, and I'll pick up on any questions that you send in and try and cover those off at the end. So hopefully you're all set up, and let's jump into the software. So the first thing that you probably noticed when you got the update or looking now is that all the button images have been changed. That wasn't just done to confuse you all. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but not too long, hopefully. So we've now normalized all the buttons throughout the software, so that there's a consistent look and feel on all the screens, and more importantly between different versions of Excel, because it was the case that different versions of Excel had slightly different images, so it could be a bit confusing when you were looking at one of our videos or looking at a screenshot and what you had on your screen didn't look exactly like what it should. So we've just normalized that so that moving forwards everyone's looking at the same thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up an estimate that I created a little bit earlier, and it contains a quick quote estimate. So one of the key benefits to the work that I've been doing is the speed of going in and out of workbooks, and you really see the benefit of that when you're doing an import from either quick quote or Plans Express. So I've done this, like I say, I've done this quick quote estimate. So I've got the main components that you'd have in an extension job. I've got the walls, floors, roofs, windows, doors, structural openings. Got some plumbing, electrics, and drainage, and I've added a subcontract quote in there too. So it's a decent size estimate. I think it's 30 odd workbooks, and I'll just press the button to create that. Now anybody that's got Plans Express or Quick Quote will probably know that when you press that button, you've normally got time to put the kettle on and make a cup of tea and then drink most of it too. But it's a lot quicker now. Only takes a minute or so to bring those in. Slightly longer because I'm sharing my screen with all of you, but generally it's much improved. Plus, it's a lot more stable because it's not having to wrestle with so many different Excel workbooks, opening and closing them up, which sometimes gave it indigestion. So that's it. In around a minute, that import's completed, and you can see it's counting up there, and it's 79,000 for those workbooks. So that's a key benefit to what I've been doing. And then just off the back of that, I don't know whether you've all seen this dialog before. It's been there, but it's an updated version. So whenever all of our door and window workbooks are set up with lintels as sundry items. So they're all sort of hard coded based on you having 100mm cavity, basically. But obviously with regs changing and depending on the spec that you're building to, you may have different size cavities, or it may be so we've got three sample sizes. So at the end of an import, or indeed if you've estimated manually, you can access this through the specification tab. So I can say, right, I need a 125 to 140mm cavity, and it's then gonna change over the lintels and cavity closers suitable for that. You can use the drop down to manually change them as well if what we've do automatically doesn't quite suit your requirements. Okay, so that's then run the import, and it's updated our lintels and cavity closers and so on. So now I'll jump into one of the workbooks and just show you what it looks like inside, because it obviously looks a fair amount different to what you've been used to. So let's go into a wall. Okay, so this now has opened up a box in front of EstimatorXpress, in front of the Excel beneath it. So it's opened up full screen, but you can, if you sort of move it, you can see it's just a box over the top of it. So instead of opening up worksheets and that taking a while, it's jumped out of Excel. Where it should be a lot more stable and snappy. So you'll see down the left-hand side is navigation to get into the different parts of the workbook. So we've got the summary screen as you're used to, and then there'll be a list of the worksheets, and then there's an option to add a new worksheet. So all of the functionality that you're used to is still there. It's just sometimes it's moved around a bit. So for example, at the end here, we've got the copy worksheet and the delete worksheet buttons, rather than them being at the top, and then it's saying, select a worksheet, or which one do you want to copy or delete. So if I then go into one of the worksheets, so this is, again, it's the same functionality, but it's just arranged differently. So instead of starting on the dimensions and pressing the view resources output to get at the specified resources, we've got 3 tabs, so you can easily jump to the section that you need. So we've got dimensions, we've got the calculated resources, and they're the ones that basically you enter these dimensions, it calculates areas and volumes, and then feeds those into resources, sort of fed directly. So that's all in a wall. It's your bricks and blocks and plastering and decorating and skirting boards, etc. And then the sundry items is on its own tab now. So instead of going to the resources output and then scrolling down to the bottom, you can jump straight to the sundries there. So this dimension screen, you'll recognise it. It looks exactly the same as it did before. Same blue colours and so on. But if we go into the actual resource specification, so this is a lot sort of cleaner and less blue than you're used to. again, it's got the same functionality, same buttons, same options at the top. I have just pulled them all out, so they were kind of hidden in a couple of drop downs before, but they're all buttons on the top so that you can see them all. It's amazing how you kind of forget some of the functionality that's there because it's hidden away. So yeah, it was interesting to me when I was putting them on. I thought, oh blimey, I forgot that button was there. And the main body of this is it's got the same columns in, the same information. A few improvements with it. You can when you're looking for something, you can use the if you move your mouse over any of the column headings, you see you get the little small filter icon there. And if you click on that, you can then filter it to something. So let's see, bricks above DPC, less openings. Let's change the brickwork. So that's one way of finding it there. So if I then went to change that, so I can either right click and you get the change resource, or there's the button at the top there. So if I go to change that main brickwork, so this has brought up the price book as it always did, but I wanted to highlight the search tool here. So if I was looking for a facing brick, I could type in facing and press find. And what that does is it filters the price book down to show any items with the word facing in, and it's highlighted there where it found the match. So that's a neat improvement, I think, to help to help navigating, because the price books can get quite large, running into thousands of products, and that's an improved way of finding things, I think. So if I select that, this is as you've seen before. So nothing's really changed there. And then if I wanted to take this filter off, at the bottom here, I can just press to clear filter, or you could click on that and select all. You've actually got the same search option on this screen. So if you do a Control and F, it opens up a very similar search. So I could then type in brick there, and it's going to filter down these results to show anywhere that it finds the word brick. So there, yeah, both of those are a couple of neat ways to improve, searching through the data, because obviously there's quite a lot of it within EstimatorXpress. So anything that helps you to get to where you need to be quicker is always an advantage. The other function that I just wanted to show you from within a workbook, and it's not new. It's always been there, but it's just an improved way of doing it. Hopefully, is when you're adding sundry resources, we've got the add material, labour, plant, subcontract, sundry, so the individual one. We've also got an add multiple resources option, which you may or may not have noticed. It's been there for years, but so so this was an extension job. If I wanted to add some wall starters, and for some reason I wanted to add them into my wall rather than using the wall starters workbook, I could, so I'll search for, I'll say starter, so that I can get my wall starter, and I'll select that. So at the top, instead of a select resource button that we had when we were changing it, there's an option to add resource to selection. So what it's doing, if you look at the bottom half of the screen, so we've got the price book here, with all the resources in it, but at the bottom here, it says selected resources. So this is showing you all the ones that you've added to your selection. So if I needed to do some wall starters, I'd need some labour to install them. So I can now change it to being labour, and let's find a bricklayer's labourer, so I could then add him to the selection. And so you can work through adding as many resources as you like at one time, and then when you're done, press the Select Resources button. So item used for okay, so let's do connection to existing house. So, and maybe I need 12 of them for the different connections. This is probably all things that you've seen before. So, and then it now comes up with the labour, and what it's doing is it's keeping the same item used for description that was entered for the last one. So a lot of times, if you're adding things together, then they're all for the same thing. So that saves an amount of typing. So maybe you've got to allow, I don't know, a quarter of an hour per wall starter. And again, I'll say I've got 12 of those. So I can click OK, and it then adds both of those in there. So you can see now that I've got some sundries. It's the same functionality as you're used to. So you can edit the item used for and the quantity directly onto the onto the sheet here. Yeah, so that's it really. The if I just go back to the calculated resources. Let me just get rid of that filter. You may or may not have noticed before, because it may or may not have always shown, that any items that you've actually changed yourself are going to show up in bold text. So if you're ever reviewing resources and reviewing an old estimate, you can see what things you've actually manually made adjustments to. Okay, so yeah, that's really the whistle-stop tour of a workbook. You've got the same access to the resource wizard and the dimensions wizard as you've always had. When you're done with this and you're ready to close, I know that it's been throwing a few people that we don't have a close button at the top left now. On each of these screens, there's always going to be a button in the bottom right, but personally, I always just use the X in the top right to close it down. If you do that, it's going to ask whether you want to save changes or not. So I'll say yes to that, and it takes you back to the summary screen. So that's the main detail of what I've been doing and what's in this update really. Just a word on if you've got old estimates. So it's obviously still going to work when you install the new software. So any old estimates that you have, when you open them up and you open up a workbook, it's still going to open up in the old way, opening up the Excel workbook. If you were to add a new workbook to that estimate, it's going to add it in this new format. So whilst you transition over, you may end up with some estimates that's half one way and half the other way. But moving forwards, everything will be in this newer format that isn't saved using Excel workbooks. If you've been customizing the software yourself, so whether you've used the Power Pack or whether you've made some adjustments and used the Save as Template button from within a workbook, they're still going to be there, but again, they're going to be opening up in the old way. The Save as Template button is there still within the new versions of the workbook. So if you were to make those adjustments again and press save as template, then it would save in the newer format. So yeah, there'll be a bit of inconsistency if you've been making a lot of customizations of sometimes it'll open one way and sometimes the other way. But yeah, I just wanted to make you aware. It's all everything that you've done in the past is still going to work. That's the key thing to get across. So I just want to show you what happens now if I come out of my estimate and go into a workbook through my settings, because there's one other key thing that I've done, which hopefully will be a help to a number of you. So if I open up, let's see, I'm going to go for a timber frame panel, because this is the one that's kind of come up as a query a number of times through the support team. So if I open up this timber frame panel workbook and you look at the list of worksheets down the left hand side, you'll see, right, okay, we've got the workbook summary, add worksheet, but then there's this new one called template, which you won't have seen before. Now, if I just explain a bit about how workbooks work sort of under the bonnet, when you use the add worksheet button, it's actually copying a sheet called the template. It's copying that template sheet to create your new worksheet. And that template sheet basically defines the material specification for that workbook. Now, if it's a spec link workbook, that is going to be overwritten by what's set up in the specification. So if you take a wall or a roof, all of the materials are going to be overwritten by what's in the specification. But for workbooks such as the timber frame panel, which are not linked to the specification, there hasn't been a way for you to change what that default spec is. So again, the query that we've had a number of times previously and haven't had a suitable answer for really was I use different size timbers to the timber frame panel that you have in your system, and I have to make those changes on every estimate that I do. So now you can come in here, you can edit the template sheet, and any changes to resources are then going to be your defaults for every new estimate that you do. And similarly, if going back to the example that I did where I put some wall starters into my wall of sundry items, if for some strange reason you thought that was a good idea and you wanted to always have wall starters in your brick and block cavity wall, you could open up that wall workbook or any other workbook, add the sundries in, and then every time it creates a sheet, those sundries are going to be there so that you can optionally use them. So yeah, hopefully you've followed what I'm saying with that. Yeah, it may not be a feature for everybody, but certainly some of you should see that as an advantage to save a bit of the repetitive work that you have to do, sometimes have to do for each estimate. So yeah, it's really just adding extra flexibility so that you can set up the software to work the way that you work, and make as fewer changes as possible and get things done and move on to something else as quickly as possible. So yeah, that's my whistle stop tour really. What's next, I suppose, would be one question. So I've now turned my attention to working on EstimatorXpress 2019, which is basically EstimatorXpress without Excel at all. So I've been working on that for a couple of weeks. And yeah, so I'm thinking that I'm certainly not going to tell you when it's going to be finished, but the plan at the moment is that there'll be a staged release of the software, and so that the first version isn't going to have all of the functionality that the current software has, and then we'll add that functionality in sort of in subsequent releases. So at the moment, we're thinking that the Power Pack and possibly variations will not be in the first release, but we will then add those on because we see them as you know, what we want to do. Obviously, you know, we hear loud and clear that you all want the software out of Excel as soon as possible. And on that vein of as soon as possible, we've looked at some of the features that are going to take a decent amount of time to rewrite, and that maybe aren't used day to day by people. So they're just going to be on a slightly longer time scale. But rest assured, we are going to remake everything. We just want to be able to get something out as soon as possible that will satisfy most people. So it's going to be a standalone piece of software. So I'm making quite a lot of sort of structural changes under the bonnet. Obviously, because it's not in Excel, it's not it's not held down by any of the Excel rules anymore. So it's a great time for us to kind of do a bit of spring cleaning within the software. So it's not going to use any of the same files. Any estimates that you're creating now aren't going to be able to open up on this new version. So it will install as a separate piece of software. So you would still have EstimatorXpress 2018, and then you could have EstimatorXpress 2019 sitting next to it. So any estimates that you are partway through or jobs that you're partway through, you can still access all those files. And then any new work you'll be able to do on the new software. Hopefully there will be tools for you to import some of your customizations across. So, you know, I'm sure people will want their products from their price book across, and maybe tweaks to specifications and so on. So we'll certainly look to do all of those things so that you don't have to set things up twice. But again, it's yeah. Whether they will be there for the first release, I'm not entirely sure as yet, but I'm sure that they'll be very, very swiftly after the first release. If they're not there, then. So yes, that's me really. I'm working hard at that as my main focus. Other than covering on support here and there at the moment. So yeah, I'll really just open it up and see what questions you've got really. If there's anything based on what I've been talking about that was unclear, or if you've got any other questions that you want to ask at this point. So I'll just have a quick look through what you've sent in so far. I apologise if some of you were having problems with audio at the start. I hope that the majority of you have been able to hear me and can still hear me. Let's see. Okay, so somebody asked whether using Power Pack, whether they need to download a specific update for that. No, within this version of EstimatorXpress, the 9.10, Power Pack's still there and working, and any workbooks that you have created in the past or create now can still be used within estimates. It'll just be that they won't open up with the new sort of look and feel and the navigation down the left, they will open up in the old way, because those Power Pack workbooks are very much made within Excel. So you can still use your own Power Pack workbooks within existing estimates. You'll just have a bit of a mix of workbooks that open up the old way and some in the new way. But yeah, so anything that you've created is still very, very usable within this release. Okay, and somebody's asked about a specification that they've created and obviously spent a long time to set up, and whether that will be transferable to the new software. I'm sure that the answer is going to be yes. I haven't thought through all the technicalities of it, but yeah, I'm not changing I'm not touching the way that specifications work, really. It's just being stored in a different way internally. So I don't see any reason why I can't create routines for you guys that will import your old settings. So yeah, bringing across specifications, and I guess any build phases that you've created yourself. And resources, materials, labour, plant that you've created yourself. That will all be certainly a key requirement. And yeah, something that I will be providing. Okay, and then there's a question about a loft conversion estimator. I presume that's asking about whether there will be a quick quote template for loft conversion. I'm guessing. Obviously, there are various workbooks within the software to do loft conversions. There's I think it's cut roof attic interior conversion workbooks we have, which deal with the which in a manual way you can do the flooring, the upstand walls, the sloping ceilings, the collared ceiling, and then there are various workbooks for plastering the gable ends and doing attic walls and dormers and roofs on dormers and openings, etc. So we within Estimator we have a lot of workbooks to do attics, but we don't currently have a template within Quick Quote, which I'm guessing is possibly what you were getting at, and that is something that's very much on our radar. We do want to do Quick Quote templates for loft conversions or houses with lofts. And we also want to do things like garage conversions. So if you're either converting a garage or extending up a garage, that again is a key one on our list of things that we want to get done, and conservatories as well is another key one that we hope to do soon. But those items have been put on hold until we've got the software out of Excel, because that's really the part that we're hearing loud and clear from you guys that you're screaming out for, and it'll certainly it'll certainly open up opportunities for us to develop the software further once it's out of Excel. So that is our number one priority at the moment, and then we'll circle back round to everything else that we want to do after that. So yeah, it's still in the works. Whether it will be within this calendar year, I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so There's a question asking about getting a figure, but also getting some messages specifying that certain elements are missing. So when you're using the software, let's think. So that could be you may be getting a message when a workbook, if you open one of the new workbooks and there are resources missing from your price book. So you may have seen in the past either the price next to a workbook or a worksheet, or next to specific lines with a #NA next to it. So that typically meant that a resource, material, labour, plant, etc. was missing from the estimate price book. So maybe it's a workbook that you saved yourself within a different estimate where you'd added a new resource, and that resource isn't in the price book of the new estimate, or maybe it's a merchant resource that you had on an old computer but don't have on a new one, something like that. So you may well have seen in the past a #NA, and you normally had to then open it up and find out the exact root of that, and normally change it to a different resource, or do a download of prices or something to enable you to clear that error. So within this new software, it will give you a note on the, I think it'll put a note in the comments thing saying that there are, I don't know, it'll say there are 4 resources that are missing from your price book. Please correct this. And when you open up a workbook, let's go into a different one. Instead of having the resource description when you go to calculated resources, I think it says in capital letters, resource missing from price book or something. So that may be the message that you're referring to. So yeah, if you get that notice on opening up, I think it will tell you, and you can go to the calculator resource and the sundry resources section, and you can see exactly which items it doesn't have within the price book. A quick thing to check to try and resolve it is just to do a synchronizing of prices, just to make sure that the estimate isn't missing some resources from the master price book. You can do that by going to the price book tab from within the estimate, and if you go into any section, just wait for this to load. Oh, this screen's got me. I'm not used to the new buttons on this one. If you go to the synchronize button, that will then allow you to copy across any resources that are within your master price book but aren't in the estimate price book. So you could say all sections, and you could optionally say download latest prices as well. So that's yeah. If anybody gets a message saying that resources are missing, that's one thing to try. And then otherwise, you can obviously contact the support team, and we'll see if we can work out why they've disappeared. But if it's just 1 or 2, then you can just use the change resource button and specify something and carry on, really. But if it's something that's consistently happening on a workbook, when you add it into an estimate, then yeah, give us a call, and we'll happily look into it and try and work out what's going on, and yeah, get it fixed. Okay, so somebody's asked whether there is a plan for grip and rubber roofing, is it? It's not a system that I've come across. Personally, I so I don't know anything about it or how commonly it's used. So I will have to look into that and get back to you. Yeah, we'll need to do a bit of research, and I'll ask Tom in support, who used to be a roofer. So a bit more, and we'll get back to you on whether it's something that we may add ourselves, or alternatively how we can help you to set one up for your purposes. Somebody's asked whether there are plans for the software to produce a bill of quants in line with NRM2. We don't have plans to do that. You may or may not have heard about our other company within the HBXL group called Integro Construction Software, and I don't know, 6 or 9 months ago, maybe. I'm not sure how long it goes. How long it was. We launched a piece of software called BuildingWorks, and that is very much based around NRM2. So it does produce a bit of quants. But to get that output, all of the data within the software has to be arranged in a very different way to how EstimatorXpress does. So if it's a core requirement of you to be able to produce an NRM document, then it may be worth taking a look at BuildingWorks. The website's getbuildingworks.com, I believe. But within EstimatorXpress, we may. I was having a conversation with Adrian, our MD, a few days ago, and talking about whether we could adjust the data within EstimatorXpress to produce a bill of quants. I mean, it would be very hard for us to produce it to an actual to say NRM, because it has some very specific ways that it needs things measured and grouped. Because we've had to jump through a lot of hoops with our other software product to get it to conform to NRM. But yeah, certainly on the wish list for EstimatorXpress, it is to be able to group things together in different ways to produce different styles of quotes. So yeah, it's possible that somewhere down the road we will be able to produce a bill of quants of sorts, but it probably won't conform exactly to any of the standards. But it's something that we need to look into more before giving a firm answer of what we can or can't provide, and a timeline really. Okay, so somebody's asked about the merchant link with Jewsons. So you, I believe that you should have received an email from us. We're not working with Jewsons anymore to provide prices through EstimatorXpress. If you do a download now, you'll notice that that Jewson prices don't update anymore, and the web catalog button that used to be within the price book to select additional Jewson products isn't within the software anymore. So you can either, if you want to continue using the Jewson prices within your estimates, you can use the within the price book. We obviously have functions to manage prices yourself. Let me just go into the price book here. So within mass editing tools, you can edit adjustments or prices. So you can either, and it basically unlocks a column. So you can either edit adjustments and set a 20% discount and drag that down throughout a number of products, or you can go edit prices, and you can then type in the exact price that you want to allow for those products. So that's the functionality that you've got to keep those juicing product prices up to date manually. Alternatively, you could use my favorites through the My Settings menu to swap to a different merchant. So whether that's HP Excel Price Tracker or whether you use one of our other merchant partners such as Travis Perkins or somebody, you can swap away from Juicens if you don't want to manually keep their prices up to date yourself. We're currently working on changing over the way that we provide prices actually. So we're going to be launching we're going to be updating Price Tracker to be more of a sort of viable price rather than a list price, because up until now it's been more of a merchant's list price that you can enter adjustments to, and we're converting over so that they should be more like a viable price. So we're busily sourcing various sorts of pricing references for all of the products within the software, and that will be something that will be launched in the coming months, and there'll certainly be correspondence via email to you on that if there hasn't been already. Right, let's find the next question. Army, you've got warmed up now. There are lots of questions coming in. Okay, so where did we get to? Is there going to be a new lean-to roof workbook for dormers for plans and estimator? I'm not aware that we plan to do a lean-to roof for dormers, but let me make a note. I'll make a note of that and see what we can do with it. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so, excuse me. Let's put that onto my other screen so that I can make a note of that. Okay, so, somebody's asked why the total costs show up in red and italics on the job summary screen after changing a price in your price book. Wow, I'd forgotten that happened. Yeah, so if you let me see if I can mimic it to show you actually. It's on my mouse. So if I change the price of my 2-in-1 bricklaying gang, there we go. So yeah, so if you change a price in your price book and then go back to the summary, it sometimes or always turns everything red and italic. And you'll see at the bottom here, it's giving you some messages saying warning changes have been made to the price book. Run a recalc. So it's basically saying, I know that you've updated something, and it may well have changed the price of any of these workbooks. So it's just warning you to run a recalc. So if you set that off, it's I was expecting it to be changed them away from run italic as it went. So there's possibly something for me to look at here, but let's just see. Let's see what happens when it gets to the end. Okay, so it's removed the message and changed the main one, but it's left those as red and italic. So that I will look into that one and get that fixed in an up and coming release. Yeah, because this was quite a major update to the software. You probably noticed there have been several small updates that I've released over the past couple of weeks. So I think we're on the fourth mini update, and I've got another one in the wings that I'll be releasing probably either tomorrow or Friday. So I will make sure that those red prices turn black again in that too. Okay. Okay, somebody's asked how you can remove old pricing from a price book. So if it's resources that you've added yourself, then you can you should just be able to delete them. Sorry, I've lost my mouse. Where is it? There we go. So if I just go back into the price book. So if let me just add a resource. So there's obviously a delete resource button there, which if you try and delete something that's linked to the web, it will tell you that you're not able to. If it's one of the web linked merchants and you want to remove those completely, there is an option within EstimatorXpress options on the tools options tab. So if you want to remove a merchant completely, you can do that by ticking there. Just a warning on that if you've then got workbooks or specifications that are using those products, you're going to get a lot of those messages saying there are 12, 15, 20 resources missing from your price book. So I'd certainly suggest caution of using that. But if it is I don't use this merchant anymore, I want to hide it from my price book, that's one thing that you could do. There is also an option on here that you can hide a resource during resource selection. So that means that if you're in a workbook and you try and do a change resource, it won't appear in that list. So that's another feature. Like I say, if it's a resource that you've added yourself, so I'll just quickly add something in, then you should be able to delete it yourself. And if that question was relating to the juicing prices that I was discussing earlier, saying that they're not going to be updating within the software anymore, if you decide to swap away and don't want them in the software anymore, then give support a call, and we can help you to manually delete those from your price book, because I don't think that there's an easy way within the software to do that. So yeah, give us a call and we can connect up to you and delete them en masse for you. Okay, so somebody's asking whether it's possible to customize the resources used for the workbooks. So they want to use all of their resources rather than our ones. Yes, it's possible. I wouldn't necessarily advise it because it's a lot of work. But it is by all means possible if you're happy to do the work. So what I would suggest before embarking on that is that you look at just adjusting the prices. So if I let's think, if I filter it to just HBXL price tracker, and then if I do you can either do edit prices or edit adjustments. So that it then unlocks the price column. So you can type in new prices for our products. So it will be keeping our product descriptions, but you can set your prices, and you can then and when it locks it down, you get options of, do you want it to always be that price, or do you want that converted to an adjustment that you can then that will then track the market when the kind of list price changes. So I'd encourage you to think about doing that first. If you are determined that you want your products in, and not to see any of ours, then let's just get back out of the software. We have a feature in my settings called my favorites. Okay, so this is basically how the software swaps between different merchants. So this is how you can swap it from using HBXL Price Tracker or TradePoint or Travis Perkins or any other of our merchant partners. So if you want to set it up yourself, there's this option of My Custom Favorites. So what you do is you click, so for aggregates, I'm going to click My Custom Favorites, and it's opened up this dialog. So you can basically map all of our resources to one of your own. And for some reason, I've got this linked up so that I'm swapping a bag of ballast to a boiler, which isn't very sensible. So let me. So the things I do when testing. So you can. This will allow. By default, this is giving you all of the. So I went into aggregates. So this is all the aggregates that aren't currently sort of linked up as to swap between. So if you added your own aggregates in to replace ours, so if you added your own ballast bulk bag in, it would be there in the drop down, or you could select more and you could go to the section of the price book that you've added it into, and then select it. So this and then the conversion factor is basically saying, so if for example it was a block and our blocks are priced per square meter and your block was an each price, then you'd use the conversion factor to say, I need however many blocks it is per square meter for one of your 1 square meter of blocks price. So that's what the conversion factor does. So yes, it's possible to go through all of these and set up an alternative that you've added in yourself. But it's, like I say, it's certainly not a task that I'd like to do, because it's going to take you a long time to work through them all. But then that will then when you're done with that and you click apply, it's going to go through and it will adjust all the specifications for you. And then every time you open a workbook for any items that aren't linked to the specification, it's gonna automatically swap those in. So yes, it's doable. I don't recommend it. I would recommend you call the support team and have a chat with them about exactly what you want to do and why you want to do it, and we'll see if there's an easier solution that you're happy with to save you a bit of time. Somebody's asked whether the change of mini-spec will work in this version. I'm trying to think whether I knew that the change of mini-spec didn't work in an older version. um, I'm not sure. I vaguely have a memory that I might have done something within mini-specs recently. Yeah, if there was something that wasn't working before, by all means give it a go. See if I have got it fixed. If I haven't, then please drop me a line or speak to the support guys and let them know, and I will get it rectified. Okay, so somebody's asked whether there are plans to have the software show costs by individual rooms. Tricky. It kind of depends how you produce the estimate as to whether you can show a cost by rooms. So it depends exactly how you're producing it. Whether it's probably a slightly different answer as to whether you're trying to use Plans Express or whether you're using Quick Quote or whether you're doing an estimate manually. Obviously, when you go into one of the workbooks, each worksheet has a location, and a lot of the options that we have on the list are kind of roomy type labels. So you can kind of assign things to rooms, and then you can use that location as a filter in the reports. I guess we don't have a quote by location at the moment, but again, that is something that we hope to add in the fullness of time, and maybe something that we can consider as we're doing this rewrite. We're obviously going to be rewriting the quotes, so maybe now would be a good time to add that functionality in. So we'll certainly give that some thought. And then I suppose the other part of it is that you might be referring to the fact that if you do a quick quote estimate, you can estimate things in rooms. Most of the reason that we have rooms within quick quote is so that you can enter the dimensions once. Let me open it up. I can talk about that a bit. Okay, so I'll just open up my previous quick quote. Okay, so let's find rooms. Okay, so yeah, so you're able if you use quick quote to add in a room. So if I were to add in an L-shaped room with a flat ceiling, for example, so and I could set that up to be my lounge, say. So you can enter in the dimensions of the room, and you can then add in and you can link it to doors and windows that you've estimated, so that it forms the holes for those. And then if you're doing, say, internal renovation or plastering or decorating, it's going to fill in a lot of the information for you into the DIMS wizard. So it obviously knows it knows the total length of walls and height, and it knows the length of skirting board because it knows how many doors there are, and it knows the areas of windows to deduct, and so on and so forth. So it allows you to set up a room which is kind of easier to visualize, and then it will automatically convert that information into the plastering, decorating, renovation, flooring, ceiling type workbooks that you can attach to this room room object, if you will. And if you and some people really like this feature, and I think use it a lot and do all of their estimating in here, and then they will import it, and they've lost all the lovely labels of which room it's from. And so that is, yeah, that's an issue we're well aware of, and yeah. What's the answer? I need to look in a bit more detail about how we can structure the data when we import it, so that those rooms are fed through. So yeah, now that it's fresh in my mind, I'll give it some thought with regards to the new software, because it's not necessarily, you don't, with something like electrical sockets, for example. The electrical sockets workbook will have a worksheet in it called double sockets downstairs, and the location of that will be downstairs. So if you have 5 rooms, then you may well be using that double sockets downstairs worksheet in all of those. So in order for you to be able to produce a quote by workbook, the data would need to live somewhere else, so that it could be associated with each rooms rather than all merging into one electrical sockets workbook. So that's kind of why I'm hesitating about what the answer is, because it's, yeah, the way that all the workbooks are set up aren't exactly right for automatically producing a quote by room. But yeah, I mean, we're aware it's something that a lot of people like to do or would like to do, and you know, maybe spend a fair amount of time picking apart our reports to put it back together in a different way to be able to manually produce it today. So yeah, I will give it some more thought as to whether I can make some changes within the new version that will bring that closer to being possible. Okay, so yeah, somebody's asked whether the embedded Excel pivot tables will be available in the new software. Yeah, the reports and the pivot tables in the reports are the one thing that I really like about Excel and our software in Excel, because they're very powerful and they're very easy to use, and they just work. So it's, yeah, we haven't come to a conclusion of what we're going to use for the reporting in the new software. I need to have a play with different reporting tools to see how close they are to Excel pivot tables. I have a fear that there isn't anything that we're going to be able to put in that's quite as good. We've certainly floated the idea, if it were the case that the reporting tools that we are going to be able to use for the new software aren't as good as Excel, then we've considered whether we could actually effectively have an Excel add-in, have a way that we can import the data into just an Excel reporting standalone program, so that we can, you know, use the pivot tables, because yeah, I really do like them. I think they're great the way that the reports work in EstimatorXpress. So yeah, it's it needs some more investigation to find out whether we can find something that works as well. If so, we'll use that. If we can't, then yeah, certainly we will consider having a you know, producing reports in the best way that we can within the new software, and optionally having a way tapping into that data from an Excel reporting thing. So yeah, needs a bit more investigation from our end before I can tell you exactly what we're going to do for it. Somebody asked whether we were working on a one-coat coloured render workbook. I'm not sure, to be honest. I will. I don't do the workbook creation myself. It's normally either Ed or Andy or Adrian himself. So I will fire that question at some of my colleagues and get back to you on that. Yeah. So yeah. So again, somebody asking about yeah, just some more comments on the reporting. I mean, certainly any of the data fields. Let me just get into the reporting. No, I won't set that. So these are the pivot tables that I was talking about, and you can obviously use you can drag these items down to add additional columns, and you can filter in them. So let's see. So say I wanted to just look at the output of my brick and block cavity walls. I could select that, and that would filter, and there's a show field list button which allows you to get at all of the other fields of data that we've got that we haven't added here. So yeah, there's a lot of there are a lot of pieces of data that you can filter and add to the reports at the moment. Certainly, in any new solution, you'll be able to get all the same data, and certainly this this kind of dialogue with the functionality that it provides and the way that you can produce the report is definitely something that we can produce in the new software. We've yeah, but it's yeah, we just need to find out how close we can get it to the way that Excel works, because just something as simple as the as being able to turn on and off the subtotals, it just works really well within Excel, and I haven't necessarily found quite as good in other reporting engines at the moment. But yeah, we'll keep hunting, and we'll keep trying to understand the options that we have and get the best solution that we can for it. Okay, so somebody's asked about how to customize labor resources. So if I jump back to the price book, if I go into the labor section, so this is something that's best done outside of an estimate in the master price book, because that way it's going to be available in all future estimates. There is that synchronize button that I took a while finding earlier. So you can do them in estimate and then press synchronize to copy them from the estimate back to the master. I'll pretend that we're going to do that so that I don't have to leave the estimate and have you wait whilst I get to the right place. So to edit the labour prices, click on edit prices, and then you can just work your way down this list, setting up what you pay your men. So it and again, just going back to a point I was making earlier about adding your own resources or using ours. It's much. It would be much better if you just adjusted the prices to be what you would pay your men set up in these gang sizes. So some people will say, well, I just never use a 2-in-1 bricklaying gang. I always use a 1-on-1, so I want to adjust the software. The implications of that are quite large, really, because we have rates of usage for a 2-in-1 gang. Throughout the specification. Obviously, a 2-in-1 bricklaying gang is used extensively in lots of the wall workbooks for bricks and blocks and more different types of bricks and blocks, etc., etc. So it's quite a big job if you were to add your own labour in, and similarly people say, well, I want there to be day rates in. So it's a lot easier if you just adjust the prices to be and whether or not it's the exact gang size that you're going to end up using, and whether or not you have day rates or even maybe per square meter rates for different tasks. It's going to save you work if you can sort of adjust from what you pay to work out an hourly rate for them. I guess if it were that you had that you had a rate from your bricklayer for a square meter of facing bricks, you could add that in. You could go to the spec and find the specific lines, but it's certainly it could be quite a time-consuming task, and I question whether there's enough benefit in swapping it over to warrant the time and the head scratching that you do to do it. So if at all possible, work out the what you would pay for if you were employing our gang size. On a per hour basis, and then let the software do its conversions as it's set up to do to work out rates of usage and costs off the back of that. Okay, somebody asked whether we consider doing a door schedule template. For if you were doing a lot of doors in a hotel and each door varied on spec. I'm guessing that's a separate document that's just specifying the doors. I would think that you could probably get most of that data out within the reports at the moment. So you've obviously got location. You can filter by resource type to get at just the doors, or even if the doors are in with I think it's maybe windows and door frames might be where doors are. So you might end up with a few windows and a few doors. So you can obviously filter on item used for or resource description to remove it so that you just have the doors. So as we were saying earlier, the reports are very powerful. You can do a lot with filtering out and homing down to see exactly what you want, and then add in any fields of data that are required, such as location and price and units. So any of the information that has been put into the software, you can filter it and get that back out of the software in a report. So that's probably where I'd start with suggesting for producing a door schedule. But otherwise, if you've got something in mind, then please do give us a call on the support line, and we'll happily take a look and scratch our heads with you and see how we can best automate producing it for you. Yeah. So somebody's saying that that they spend hours adjusting the input prices because they don't find that either using Price Tracker or Jewson or Travis Perkins is realistic for them, and so that they have to get the price right. So having to spend a lot of time setting those prices up. Hopefully, if that is the case, you are then synchronizing those changes that you've made back to the master price book so that you don't have to do them again in the next estimate. Would be the first thing I'd say. One of the features that I hope to add when I'm redoing the price book for the next version of software is I'd like for you to be able to filter prices to ones that are just used in the estimate. So it would give you a much easier way of reviewing just the prices that you need to. That's hopefully something that I will add in for the EstimatorXpress 2019. So that should speed up that process. But yeah, I mean it's a reality that that obviously to increase the accuracy of your estimates, yeah, absolutely, getting the prices that you pay into it is paramount, particularly on smaller jobs, I guess. You can probably take a view and enter an overall adjustment, or some people play with their profit margins on materials to either say I know I can buy things cheaper than what's in the price book, so I'll just zero out the profit on materials. So yeah, I mean I think it's a necessary evil, really, having to manage the prices, but particularly for smaller jobs when maybe the variance in pricing has a bigger percentage impact on the overall cost of the estimate. So yeah, anything that and firstly, I hope that when we produce the new Price Tracker Plus prices, you'll find that they are better suit what you typically pay, so that you have to do less editing. On top of that, if we've got the feature in so that you can review and edit prices of what you've used in the estimate, that should help things. That should speed things up, and maybe you'll be able to order it based on the total cost. So if you've got a brick and you've got 1,000 of them being used, you edit that one first over a special bit of board that you've only used in one workbook. So maybe you'll be able to order them based on the how much they're affecting the price of the estimate, if you will. So yeah, hopefully with a mix of those two things, it should make it easier for you to edit the prices and get it get it to a good degree of accuracy and reflecting the way that you work and the way that your business buys materials. So, but if there are any specific tools that that anybody thinks, I'd love it if they added that to the software, please do let us know. Please do feed it back, email it in, or speak to the support team, and they can have a chat with me about your idea. Because yeah, you guys are the ones using the software day in, day out. You're probably more likely to come up with good ideas of how to speed up the process that you have to go to than we can come up with. So we really value your feedback and any ideas you have on how to make the software better for yourselves, for everybody using it. So yeah, please do let us know. Okay, I've got to the bottom of the list of questions. Yeah, so I'll probably call it a night and let you get off and have your dinner now. So thank you very much for your time. Thanks for coming and taking a look at the software. I hope that that those of you that have already got it are enjoying it enjoying the improvements and that it is proving to be quicker for you and more stable and so on. Anybody that doesn't have it yet, you can if you go to our website at it's help.hbxl.co.uk, that'll take you to the support site, and then you can click through to download it through the EstimatorXpress update section. And it will ask you for your builder ID and password. Your builder ID can be found through the software. If you go to the Tools and Options tab at the top and find the About EstimatorXpress, it will tell you your builder ID. And if you've forgotten your password, there is a link on that page to reset it, and that will send you an email and allow you to reset it. So yeah, that's how you get the update. Yeah, any questions that you have, any further questions, please do get in contact. Email in or give the support team a call. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I'm working on support myself in the afternoons because Tom, who's normally there, is his wife's recently had a baby, so he's off enjoying changing some newborn nappies. So yeah, you might even get the pleasure of hearing my lovely voice again. Okay, well, I'll wish you all a very good night and speak to you soon. And thank you very much for being a customer and for using the software. And yeah, all the best.